Boris Johnson has no plans for the future of Britain, says Sir Tony Blair. Tony, on the other hand, has plenty of plans for Britain, most of which we wouldn't like, and some of which could cause insurrection. So, no thanks, we'll stick with bumbling Boris for now anyway. He may be far from perfect, but all those candidates the media has lined up to replace him would be a whole lot worse, especially Michael Gove, who actually once penned an article for The Times, headlined, "I love Tony Blair." You couldn't make this stuff up, could you? The other guy they're trying to sell us is married to a woman who is richer than the Queen. Seriously, why are we paying this guy's wages? Now, I may be wrong, but I get the impression that inside that bumbling Billy Bunter exterior of Boris, there is a more slimlined libertarian trying to get out, and he just needs better information, better than he's been getting anyway. The latest news is that Boris Johnson claims that he's seen no evidence of blackmail threats in his party after it was alleged that suspected plotters against the Prime Minister had been threatened with leaked stories about their personal lives and cuts to funding for their constituencies. Of course, you probably know one always has to wait for the official denial before assuming a story is true. Well, at least he hasn't lost any of his fighting spirit. So hello, welcome to the first rant of Bag Lady shouting at the traffic, which may already be out of date by the time you hear it. We're in the middle of a regime change, or at least an attempted one, here in Britain, and so we never know who will be Prime Minister when we wake up in the morning. All the papers and TV channels have been insisting for weeks that our PM can't hang on much longer, but hanging on, albeit white-knuckled with hanging on, he is. Anyway, this is the channel of an old woman who realises that she would be a bag lady shouting at the traffic were it not for the invention of social media and YouTube. There are children growing up in the world today who seem to be the embodiment of enlightenment when it comes to political nous. But for my generation, born at the beginning of the nuclear age, and the first to grow up under a sword of Damocles that threatened existential annihilation in a flash, our journey has been along the road less travelled. There is a good reason why that road is less travelled. No one in their right mind would choose to follow it. It has been nothing but diversions, roadblocks and jams caused by pile-ups of tangled metal the whole way, and every pearl of wisdom scrabbled from the dust in the gutters was bitterly fought over and hard won. I was at one time a journalist on national newspapers. I'm so grateful that I'm not now. I never would have survived the last few years, ever since the EU referendum, when the mainstream media seemed to have a collective nervous breakdown, dropping any pretense at reporting on reality, and became propaganda rags worthy of the former Soviet Pravda. No, I've come to realise that the only sense being uttered with such precision that it banishes the swirling Black Mirror waves of mass psychosis is in the shouting of the bag ladies at the traffic. These queens of the road are today's bards. Nobody listens to them, but of course nobody is listening to anybody. Or at least, if they are listening, it's not to respond to how we want to be governed, aka how we voted to be governed, but just to discover how they can best sell us the next iPhone. That's all they're interested in us for. I met one of these bag women once, a beautiful aged soul with faded eyes and wavy grey hair that fell down to her waist. It was one bitterly cold winter's evening while I was waiting in line to go into a West End theatre. Her impromptu poetry was a song of love to the white snow that was slowly melting and turning into a silver stream that reflected the ice-twinkling stars above before sliding down into a drain. She had an audience of one, me, but her real audience was the gods, and so to her I was invisible. I wish though I could remember what she said, but they were magic words and so perfectly designed for that 1 minute in time and not meant to be remembered. I just know that they were so like exploding shards of diamonds in their truthfulness that they pierced my soul. The place seemed wooden and yawningly boring after that, as did the rest of my life. She had made me realise how lost I'd been for years now. And so it wasn't too long after that before I picked up my rucksack again and rejoined the road less travelled. So I hope you'll find some interesting and authentic bite-sized chunks of commentary on current affairs here from a bard for the 21st century information superhighway, if you like. Whether or not you do, I will carry on producing them anyway, because for me it is cathartic and it keeps me off the streets. I would have said that I sometimes feel like a voice crying in the wilderness, but they paved it and put up a parking lot. Thanks for listening. My name is Annie Deliver, and if you'd like to support my work, you'll find me as Shaman of Avalon on Patreon.